Welcome back to the TCM Teach Podcast, the business podcast designed exclusively for acupuncturists and Chinese medicine herbalists who are ready to build thriving, sustainable businesses. So I'm Matthew Sabey Smith, a licensed acupuncturist, herbalist, professor, and entrepreneur, as well as coach. And I have been spending years helping practitioners just like you not only master their clinical skills, but also create businesses that support both their mission and their livelihood. Today we're diving into one of the most important and sometimes challenging topics in your services, or constantly Today we're diving into one of the most important and sometimes challenging topics in practice building, attracting patients who truly value your care and are willing to pay for it. Here's the truth. You didn't go through all that schooling and sacrifice just to scrape by. Discount your services or constantly chase after patients who didn't see the worth in what you do. The patients who value your work are out there. The question is, how do you attract them consistently? So that's what we're going to be covering today. So we'll get started right after this disclaimer. So please remember, I'm simply a practitioner here to support you on your journey. The information shared in this podcast is intended for educational learning purposes only. It should not be taken as professional, legal, or financial advice. For guidance specific to your business, please consult with the appropriate licensed professional. Thank you. So why attracting the right patients matter? Well, not every patient is your patient, and that's okay. And I've talked about and touched on this in a few different episodes where don't get into a scarcity mindset where you just want to work on anyone and everyone. And that really comes across in marketing on different websites that I've seen where everyone treats everything as a generalist. Don't be afraid to niche down to get the people you want to work with ideally. Working with those who undervalue your care leads to burnout, leads to resentment, and it leads to financial struggle. So ultimately, when we feel like we're compromising, it's a lot easier for us to feel the burnout, resentment, and if we're not getting paid, financial struggle too. So that's why you don't want to feel undervalued ever. Don't set yourself up in that scenario to compromise with people if you're going to feel undervalued. Patients who invest in their care tend to follow through with treatment plans. They tend to show up consistently, and they refer others who also value your work. If you are constantly compromising your price for patients, they can often also become the most difficult patients to work with because they'll nickel and dime you. They'll say, I'm sorry, I can't afford that service. And they will think you're expensive every time they talk about you to other people. And you don't want someone talking about how they think you're expensive. That's not going to be a good look for your clinic ultimately. So you have to make sure you ask the question, is it worth working with this person? So your practice thrives when you align with patients who see your care as an investment, something they want to spend money on. You don't want to be seen as a last resort. Look, this is all I got. Fix me. You don't want to work with someone like that. The mindset shift practitioners have to make. Stop apologizing for your fees. Your confidence is going to attract more confidence. Let me give you an example. Hey, I'm Matt. I own this acupuncture clinic and it is $200 an hour and I would be happy to work with you so you can talk to me over here. Versus, hey, I'm Matt. I'm an acupuncturist. I have an office right over here. It costs a hefty $200, but it is going to be completely worth it. I'm going to tell you all the reasons why, because I'm going to be the best there for you. I'm going to show up. People stop listening. They hear you trying to mention that you're talking over your own insecurity of your price. The first example, hey, I'm Dr. Matt. I'm an acupuncturist. My rate is $200 an hour and I'd love to see you. Versus the second one where, hey, I'm Dr. Matt. I'm an acupuncturist. I am a hefty $200 an hour, but I'm going to tell you all the reasons why it's going to be totally worth it to come see me. You just have to get your feet through that door. It sounds more salesy too. Just have your price. Here's what I do. I'd love to see you. Confidence attracts confidence. Think of your services as transformational, not transactional. What's the transformation you're giving them? Getting them out of back pain for 10 years? People could barely put a price on that. Example, you're not charging $100 for needles. You're offering improved sleep, less pain, more energy, and better quality of life. Don't even talk about the price. Patients mirror your beliefs in your own value. If you talk about how you're expensive, well, they're going to agree with you. If you talk about how you're affordable, guess what? They usually agree with you. It's about who you attract. And I could speak about this firsthand as a practitioner. You want to position yourself as a trusted expert. Authority builds value. Patients pay more when they see you as the guide to their healing journey. For example, in this podcast, you notice I say, my name is Sabey Smith. I'm a licensed acupuncturist, herbalist, professor, coach, and entrepreneur. Not, hey, I'm Matt. I have this podcast and I hope you listen. It's different. You're listening to me for a reason because you've either caught my content or maybe you were a student of mine or whatever. You got here somehow because you trusted me as the expert here. And I had to show you why I was the expert. Take it or leave it, right? So here are some ways to position yourself. You want to speak clearly about the outcomes, not just the techniques. You want to share patient success stories, but not violate HIPAA. And you want to educate in plain, relatable language, things we've been working on the past several episodes. You're not bragging. And this is something I actually have to work with students a lot for, is they feel like they don't want to toot their own horn. But you're talking about how you're helping patients connect the dots between your expertise and their desired results. You're not bragging. To be honest, no one's going to care about your clinic as much as you. If this is your bread and butter and this is how you put food on the table, people need to know why you're able to help them. Because if ultimately they don't know how you're going to help them, they're not going to be a patient, or they're going to complain about something. Messaging that resonates with high-value patients. Talk about results, better sleep, less anxiety, more focus. Not moving chi, balancing yin and yang. There's no emotional buy-in to a Westerner. Oh yeah, I got my chi balanced today, so I didn't see the point. I even talked to someone today. Again, I was in the gym. And they said, yeah, I got acupuncture, but there was nothing wrong with me, so I didn't feel anything. So even in the clinic room, it sounds like the practitioner didn't communicate what they were doing, or they weren't able to make it make sense to the patient. So now they lost interest in acupuncture. They were like, it's cool, it didn't hurt. So make sure the patient knows why they're there. Sometimes they might need a reminder. Hey, how's that pain today? Scale of 1 to 10. Oh, how's your sleep? Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. How's your energy? Scale 1 to 10. Show them something. Show them some improvements if you can through your paperwork. So use metaphors for patients to better understand. Yeah, we're going to put the reset button on for you. But yeah, we got to just tune this instrument a little bit and then you'll be feeling a lot better. We're going to restore balance. So we're going to restore balance in your body because there seems to be imbalance between your liver and your spleen, aka your stress is overacting on your digestion, and we're going to fix that. Focus on benefits they want now. Energy, fertility, pain relief, emotional stability, relaxation. Any of those, if you can get someone relaxed who's stressed in one treatment, they're going to love you. You just don't want to avoid the things that create confusion or skepticism. Like I've said before, qi, zongfu, meridians, yin, yang, TCM theory, things that matter to us as practitioners but don't necessarily matter to the patients. Or actually, you just heard me in a previous example. It wasn't even metaphors that I really explained, but liver overacting on spleen, right? Oh, well, essentially your stress is just taking a toll on your digestion. So if we make your stress down, your digestion should improve too. Pretty straightforward, right? So what are some practical ways to attract high-value patients? And to be honest, this has been really organic for me in practice. I don't find it to be particularly difficult if you're willing to talk about what you do. You just want to clarify your treatment packages instead of selling single sessions. Sell a package. There's more of a buy-in for them. There's more time for you to work on them. Share content that speaks to transformation and not just modalities. Maybe it's email, social media, newsletter, a talk that you give, a workshop. Leverage referrals. So patients who pay and value care tend to refer like-minded people. And host workshops or talks that show your authority and filter in those who resonate. Consider your online presence, website, social media, Google profile. Do they communicate professionalism and transformation? Yes or no? So we've been focusing on the Shen in relation to business in these last few episodes. In TCM, we talk about Shen that is clear. When it's clear, people feel your confidence and alignment. So patients pick up on your inner state. And if you feel scattered, underconfident, or apologetic about money, they're going to sense that. Attracting high-value patients is not about tricks. It's about cultivating strong inner alignment, just like strengthening your Wei Qi. So this is why I actually started this podcast with a bunch of mindset stuff right from the get-go. If you're still needing to focus on that, you can go back and listen to those episodes. This is also a lot of what coaching entails too, is, hey, let's really remove these barriers that are preventing you from success. Because if you're not confident about your price, there's a reason for that. Why do you have a believability that someone can't afford that? Because what someone can afford is actually none of your business. If someone's willing to get a $10 coffee every day, do the math. What's 10 times 30 days? A month, that's $300. You can get a couple acupuncture treatments maybe, or if you're a higher end acupuncturist, they can still get a treatment with you once a month because you told them to give up coffee anyway, potentially. So the stronger your clarity and Shen presence, the more gradually aligned patients will show up. So what are some common mistakes practitioners make? Discounting too often and undervaluing their services. I can't tell you, don't do it. Speaking from past experiences where I've made mistakes, don't do it. If it's a client who's been struggling for a really long time, find a way to put them on a payment plan, but don't discount. Don't undervalue. Attracting bargain hunters instead of committed patients. Bargain hunters are the worst patients. Don't do it. And don't go on Groupon, please. I've seen that in multiple businesses and talking to the owners about it, and just don't do it. Using overly technical or esoteric language that confuses new patients. So we've talked about avoiding that and how to avoid that. Saying yes to everyone instead of setting boundaries. You have to feel safe. You have to make sure you're comfortable with who you're working with. And assuming patients won't pay without ever giving them the chance to. That's not cool. What someone can afford is none of your business. If you take payment through Square, for example, set up Afterpay. They can break up the session maybe into like 4 payments. If you charge $100, $25, over $25 a week or something, but you still get your money. So action steps to attract patients who value care. Review your fees. Do they reflect your expertise in the transformation you provide? Audit your website messaging. Does it highlight results or just techniques? Create a clear treatment plan structure. So 6 sessions over 6 weeks instead of open-ended visits. So I would recommend putting a cap on the amount of sessions, the amount of time those sessions can be used. For example, must be used within 90 days or something. Practice saying your rates confidently without apologizing or explaining. That comes off as insecure. And start collecting and sharing. Ethical, compliant. Make sure that doesn't waver. You have to make sure you stay within HIPAA guidelines, but start collecting and sharing testimonies and highlight the transformation. So ultimately, what is the effect of attracting the right patients? Financial stability, more freedom to reinvest in your clinic. Everyone likes to see the business is working on the business, right? Emotional ease. There's no more chasing patients or dreading conversations about money. Clinical impact. Patients who value care follow through and get better results. And fulfillment. You're building the practice you dreamed of when you started this journey. So I want to leave you with this here. Attracting patients who value and pay for care is not about manipulation. And if you're thinking this is manipulation, it's not. You have to change that mindset. This is about alignment. So when you clearly communicate your value, you step into a role as a guide and set healthy boundaries, and the right patients naturally find their way to you. And it's true. If you're not afraid to talk about what you do, get really clear on your marketing, it really does happen. So I've created a resource for you. It's called the Patient Attraction Actions Guide. So this is going to walk you through practical steps to help you attract and align with patients who see the value in your care. So you'll find that in the membership. And in our next episode, we're going to dive into social media for acupuncturists, what actually works. So until then, thanks for tuning into the TCM Teach Podcast. I will see you next time. 谢谢。